starting, and then I will introduce you. Dear participants, hi. This is Professor Dr. Tuğba Karabulut. Welcome to 42nd Science and Society meeting, which is organized by Istanbul Ticaret University. I am very happy today to host Professor Dr. Amy Hillman'ı. She is the president of Academy of Management, which is the most reputable organization in the field of management, basically. And we are very happy that she accepted our invitation and she participated to our webinar. So we'll be talking about Academy of Management, of course, in this webinar. Dear Professor Hillman'ı, welcome to our webinar. Welcome to Science and Society meeting. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much. And I would welcome any questions anytime during the presentation. I've only prepared a few short slides to get some conversation started, but please feel free if you have a question to let me know as I go through the presentation. So yes, this has been my year to be the president of the Academy of Management. And it's been a very exciting year because I get to meet management faculty and PhD students from all over the world, like I am doing now, both virtually and in person. So you may know that the Academy of Management is the oldest and largest scholarly association in the world that is dedicated to creating and disseminating management and organization knowledge. So it's very important to us that we focus on our research, but also on our teaching, and that has been a central mission of the organization for many, many years. So the Academy is a community of researchers, of PhD students, sometimes of master's students, and of retired faculty who all come together to focus on our shared love and vocation around management scholarship, teaching, and practice. So we have a strong vision and mission, and our vision, of course, is to inspire and enable a better world through our scholarship and teaching. But I think it's important for you to know is about our mission, and that is what the Academy is really about. It is about building a vibrant and supportive community of scholars by expanding opportunities to connect and explore ideas. And today, more than ever, since the global pandemic, we have been building opportunities to connect and explore ideas more virtually, which helps us bridge the difference in geography between us and around the world. So we have around 20,000 members. Last summer, we had just over 20,000. Now we have just over 19,000 in 115 countries around the world. And as you can see from the chart on the left, most of our members are academic members, although we do have 28% of our members are student members. You'll see about 2% are retired faculty who retain their membership in the Academy, and we have around 4% that are practicing managers. You'll see that we are heavily based in North America, but we have a very large presence, number of members in Europe. And I would say that where we are most eager to make connections is someplace that you all have very strong connections with, and that is in Africa and in the Middle East. So I'm delighted to be with you today to hopefully advance those relationships. The Academy of Management is a volunteer organization. And so that means if you are eager to get involved, we will find a way to involve you. There are more than 6,000 of us who volunteer our time to support the Academy. And in a few minutes, I'll give you a better overview of what that means. But we have a diverse set of ways that volunteers can help us through things like our journals, our divisions and interest groups, career services, our annual meeting, and our other leadership functions. And so I just list here for you who is currently in the executive committee and the representatives at large of the organization. We are all voted on by members. So that is how you become a board of governors member or an executive committee member. And you'll see that we have leadership from really all over the world as well. So perhaps most interesting to all of you is that with 20,000 members, we try to find a way to create community, as I said earlier. And a big way that we do that is through our divisions and interest groups. We have 26 of them, and many of our members are a part of more than 2 of these. With membership to the Academy of Management, you are allowed to be a member of 2 of these committees, but you can also choose to join more of these divisions and interest groups. So you'll see everything from human resource management to research methods to strategic management, organization behavior, of course, but also things like management education and development, management history, entrepreneurship, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And our newest division is organizational neuroscience. So we have a way that if you have a topic that you believe is of interest to a number of scholars around the world, you can actually create a new interest group and start to convene parts of our conference and our other communication venues around those areas. So organizational neuroscience started with around 40 people, and now we have over 389 members in year 2 of that division and interest group. I'll stop there and see if there's any questions about divisions or interest groups before I move on.
I can ask you a question. What are the benefits of, becoming the member of these interest groups?
Thank you for asking. They're really very exciting. Each one of our interest groups is led by volunteers, as I said. There are leaders of every one of these divisions, and they put together programming specific to the domain. So an easy example is at our annual conference, there will be tracks of papers that all fall within this general area, and the division or interest group reviews the papers for a presentation, selects those that they think will be very valuable for members to hear about in the conference, and then arranges them into themes so that scholars who are working on similar ideas are presenting in the same session. So when you go to the conference, the most direct benefit is you can sort across all of the different sessions to find those in the areas that you're interested in. But there's way more to it than just simply the conference. So for example, I personally am in the organization and management theory, and I'm in the strategic management divisions. And each of those creates its own newsletter and its own programming through the year. So one example is they have decided I am a senior scholar in organization and management theory, and I'm smiling because senior, of course, sometimes makes you feel old when they tell you that you are a senior scholar. But I serve as a senior scholar in the org management and theory division, and that allows faculty and PhD students from all over the world to sign up for one-on-one meetings with me. So I have a number of times during the year where I will devote an hour to new scholars that are interested in talking to me about their research. Sometimes they will present their paper that they are going to present for their dissertation or for a job. Other times they just want to talk about research. The other thing that STR, or the Strategic Management Division, does as an example is they will host virtual panels. So much like today, they convene people over Zoom, but it will be a topic area that is of interest to strategic management. So they recently had convened a panel on the resource-based view of the firm and where it is going next. So you can, if you're a member of these divisions, you get information about all of these different ways that you can connect. And of course, you can volunteer to be a part of some of these panels and the leadership as well. I hope that was useful. Yes, I see a hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I can't see the hand. Yeah, Çiğdem Hoca, buyurun. Yeah, Çiğdem Hoca is our... you introduce yourself, Çiğdem Hoca.
Okay, thank you. I am an assistant professor in business administration department, and we all welcome you, Professor. We are so happy to be with you today. And I just want to ask the requirements for becoming a member in these divisions or interest groups. Can you just give some information about it, please?
So when you join the Academy of Management as a member, you get to select two of these that you're most interested in, and that comes along with your membership. So there's no requirements other than your own interest in the area. And if you are interested in more than one of these divisions, there is an annual payment that you can make to belong to more than two of these divisions. But there's nothing other than the general membership is required to be a part of the interest group.
I just thought that it was required to have an acceptance for one of your papers at the conference. Isn't it necessary?
No, it is not. So thank you for asking that question. Membership in the Academy of Management is completely separate from attending the annual conference. So you can be a member there in Turkey and not go to the annual conference or even submit to the annual conference, and be a member of the Academy and a member of two or more of these divisions all through the year, because it is really our goal as the Academy is to present value to our members all through the year, not just at the annual conference. So you don't have to have a paper accepted by the conference to be a part of one of the divisions or interest groups.
Thank you very much. This was important for me, and I would love to be a member, so I will just check it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, you maybe said that because sometimes universities require, if you are to receive travel funds to go to the conference, that you have a paper on the program, and perhaps that might be a reason you're asking that question.
Maybe I can also ask how much is the fee for membership, and also when you become a member to these interest groups, for example, do people have an access to each other? For example, can they do joint research? What kind of collaboration alternatives we can have?
Yes, so let me show you a few more things that come along with membership, and I think you'll be very excited to see what membership really brings you. All right, so membership in the Academy of Management also gives you access to our 7 journals. And I'm not sure if your library has access to these journals there at your university. Okay, you do. The nice thing for me as a member is on the website, I can search within these journals for a certain author or a certain topic. And it is much like a library search, but it contains it into the Academy publications. And also, if you are a member, you get access to the papers that have been accepted in these journals, but have not yet come out in print. Now, of course, I say print, even though we use digital journals now, but I think you understand that, when a paper gets accepted, it often takes 1 or 2 years before it appears in the actual journal. So when you're a member, you get access to these journal articles before they appear in the final issue. So the Academy of Management has 7 journals, and I will just briefly give you an idea because it sounds like you're familiar with our journals already. The Academy of Management Annals is like a review type journal where you can go to find literature reviews on certain topics. We talk about the annals as a review with an attitude. And what we mean by that is that the authors of these review articles have an opinion about the state of the literature. It might be a corporate culture article that is spanning all of the research in corporate culture. And the authors of that paper will take statements of, that this is where we need to go as a field. This is what we don't need to see more research from. So that's a great place if you are interested in particular. I use these articles when I teach PhD student classes because they are the most up-to-date literature reviews. Academy of Management Discoveries is a newer journal in our portfolio, and it is meant to capture phenomenon. So if you have data about a particular practice or something interesting to management and organizations, the AMD, as we call it, Discoveries, is a place for you to publish that data, but it doesn't necessarily have to advance theory. And I say that because it is important in some of the other journals that I'm about to discuss that you have a very firm grounding in theory and that you have hypotheses or theoretically grounded propositions. So the Academy of Management Learning and Education is a journal devoted to the science of learning, pedagogy, and other ways to advance what we are learning in our classrooms and in the practice of management. The Academy of Management Journal is an empirical journal. It only publishes papers with data. It can be qualitative or quantitative data, but it does require an advancement of theory. So you will most typically find in AMJ articles that have theoretically grounded hypotheses that are then tested either with qualitative or quantitative data. The Academy of Management Perspectives is a journal that is devoted to influencing public policy and the practice of management. So it often will take a topic that perhaps has been covered in our other journals and discusses how this could have implications for the practice of management or the public policy domain within a particular area. Academy of Management Review is 100% theory. There is no data that appears in the Academy of Management Review. I used to be the editor of this journal, and so it is my favorite. Because you don't have to worry about what the data tells you, you just have to worry about the logic of the theory. So you will often find some of the newer ideas coming out in the AMR. And Academy of Management Collections is our most recent journal, and that journal curates a set of articles around a particular topic, and then has an introductory article, and the remainder of the articles all come from our other journals. So as a member, you also get digital access to all of these and the papers that are coming out in press as well. Any questions about the journals?
I would like to ask, are they indexed in Social Sciences Citation Index, all of them?
Yes. They all are. And in fact, the highest rated journal is the Academy of Management Review, followed by the Academy of Management Journal and the Academy of Management Annals. So they are all tracked by Web of Science, and you can find them in Scopus or any of the other citation vehicles that you would be looking at.
I also have another question. They always, tell us that it's very difficult for accepting the paper for these journals. What are you really looking for with the articles, actually?
Well, every journal is different, as I just described, but we do have a lot of submissions that come in. One thing that I think you should know is that for each of our journals, we try to provide the most developmental peer review as we possibly can. So if I was going to submit to one of these journals, I would definitely spend time reading through the journals, the last few issues, looking at the kinds of articles that are there, read the mission statement of the journal before you decide that it is a great home for one of your pieces of research. But once you submit it, you will get great feedback whether or not the paper is eventually accepted. And yes, it is hard to publish in these journals. I just had a paper rejected at the Academy of Management Journal, and yet I felt as if the reviewers gave me great ideas to make the paper stronger as I move forward. So I often encourage people start with the annual meeting. If you can submit a paper there, you will get a peer review. You come present the paper or you present it virtually, you get comments and developmental feedback there. And that can often help you then prepare for a better journal article. I see a hand up.
Hey.
Buyurun. Yeah.
Yes, my dear professor, I want to ask a question. How can we guide our students to choose their topics according to the journals? Of course, we look to the scope of the journals, but is it something specific they have to notice?
No, we are very broad. We, as you saw from the divisions and interest groups, we look for papers from all areas of management. So my advice to students is always that you should do research in a topic that you're interested in. And if you then will find across all 7 of these journals, you will easily find one that is a good home. So if you are more theoretically inclined, there is an answer there. If you have empirical data, if you're more interested in phenomenon, if you're more interested in public policy, you're more interested in teaching, that is where I think, I would look then to the journal. Yes.
Thank you for your answer.
So the latest one that I really like, and I think that you all can benefit from, is the Academy of Management Insights. And Insights is a digital newsletter, and you go in and you can sign up for Insights, whether you are a member of the Academy or not. So you can tell us on the website what topics you're interested in. And then what we do is we take articles that are published in all of those journals and translate them for a business or a non-scholarly reader. And these have been very exciting. So you'll see some examples of them here where, we put together something on work-life balance or something around entrepreneurship. And these have been very useful to me as I teach executives because they're much more accessible than some of our scholarly researches. So I encourage you to sign up, and you'll see that they're very heavy in graphics and animation and things that make it much easier for people to access our research than to pick up, say, the Academy of Management Journal and start to read our research and think, how can I be a different manager as a result of that? So now we can talk about the annual meeting, and I'm very excited to share that in 2025, which is not too far away, we will be in your backyard. We will be in Copenhagen in Denmark. This will be the first time that the Academy of Management has been outside of North America. And I was in Copenhagen previewing the venue a couple of months ago, and I'm very excited, and I hope that many of you will consider coming to the Academy of Management when we are so close to you. Of course, this summer we will be in Boston, and following that in 2024 in Chicago, and here are the days. And I also want to mention, if you have ever come to the Academy of Management or wanted to in the past, we always meet in August. But of course, in August in Europe, it is a different cultural tradition. So we are meeting in July when we are in Copenhagen. And we will have somewhere around 12,000 people that come together for the conference. And so another benefit of those divisions and interest groups is finding the people who have common research, as I said. There is a teaching and learning conference that is also held at the same time. So you can combine your love of teaching with your love of research for the annual meetings. So here's a little bit more around the kind of events that can happen. All of our journals do paper development workshops. So to the question about finding a theme or how you can really work on your research to give it a better chance of getting accepted, there are paper development workshops that you can submit a working draft of a paper to, and you will have senior scholars and editors, associate editors and reviewers from the journals work with you on the paper. We do these in person and we do these virtually. So they're a great resource to try to advance your ideas. Now, how is that different than an idea development workshop? An idea development workshop is something very specific to Academy of Management Review. That is our theoretical journal, the idea place. And so we often think that the workshop should happen earlier before you have written an entire paper on a subject. So for the Academy of Management Review, you will have idea development workshops that you can attend as well. There are many Meet the Editor and Academy of Management journal presentations. I just was in Egypt in January for the African Academy of Management, and we had 5 of our journal editors were there in Cairo and working with people on their papers. So I encourage you to visit our website and see, as I've noted some here on the slide, where some upcoming paper development workshops will be held. As I told you earlier, this is also true for the division and interest groups. They will often do virtual conferences and specific panels. They do regional networking events. There are some events that are focused purely for students. I am in an event soon that is focused on advancing your career as a senior scholar. So we try to create events for student all the way to senior scholars. And as I already shared, some Meet the Scholar sessions, etc. So you also see here on the slide down at the bottom, I mentioned Organizational Neuro Conference. They're going to be having their own conference this June there at Erasmus University as well. So being a member of these divisions just helps you get access to all of these events. So the other resources that come along with being a member, there are online communities that again are based on your interest areas, and you get digital newsletters and you can respond, you can meet with other people that are interested in the same things you are. We offer career services, particularly for PhD students who are looking for jobs as professors. We have career coaching. We have a way to advertise your positions and a way for you to apply for positions. We also have a number of teaching resources, and that again is based on the division that you belong to. So for example, in my membership in the Strategic Management Division, I can go and see different people's syllabi, see how they teach, what they teach. If they're interested in a particular simulation, I can reach out to them and say, how do you use this in your class? And of course, then we have the publishing resources that I already spoke about, like the author services. There's also some really great YouTube videos around our journals, what it takes to publish in this, how to get a paper accepted, how to improve your chances of getting them accepted. And of course, the access of all of the journal articles is an important part of the membership. Research methods is also an area that you may consider very valuable as a result of membership. We have access to what is called Karma, and it is a set of online virtual workshops by method. So perhaps you will find one in structural equations modeling, you will find one in qualitative cluster analysis, you will find one in regression. And so if you need a refresher, or you perhaps don't know a new method, then there are workshops that you are allowed access to as a result of being a member. And of course, a very strong part of the Academy of Management is overseeing the ethics of our profession. So we're very devoted to being the most ethical in our research and our teaching and our collegiality. So we have a number of ethical resources for you as well. So I only have a couple more slides and they're not as interesting, but this is the strategic direction of the organization. We are volunteer-led, as I have told you. So just a few things of note that we have already discussed somewhat. We really see ourselves as a connection method. So to connect you with scholars who are interested in collaborating on research in other countries or in topics that you're just starting to explore. We have a lot of very diverse members out there who, some of them are doing research based on teaching, some of them are doing research based on practice, some of them are doing all of the above. And you will be able to, I think, find a great community within the Academy of Management. So these are our strategic priorities right now. Of course, like many organizations, we suffered during the global pandemic because we were not able to hold our annual meeting, and a number of our members lost their funding from their universities for things like membership support. So we are very focused on operational sustainability and reinventing meetings. Our meetings really had to be reinvented. As you all know, we really needed to pivot when COVID came. So we had 2 virtual conferences and then a hybrid conference last summer. The hybrid conference last summer was not very successful, to be honest. It was an experiment, but people were not happy to have some sessions in person and some sessions virtually. So now we will be dividing those 2 things and devoting our Boston and our Chicago and our Copenhagen meetings to face-to-face and having other separate conferences and mini conferences as a result of that in the virtual space. So I believe that that is my last slide, and I will just share this picture of the fun we have when we get together and how exciting it is to exchange intellectual ideas with your colleagues. And I'll stop sharing and come back to you a little bit larger so I can see your faces if you have other questions that you might want to ask of me.
Sure. Osman Hoca, would you like to ask a question? He is our associate professor in the field of organizational behavior and human resource management.
Thank you very much. It's very useful for me, and I will think for a membership. So I don't have any question. Thank you very much.
Oh, I forgot to answer the question earlier about the cost.
I don't have any question.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Ahmet Bey, would you like to ask a question? Your voice is muted, so you need to turn on. Voice. We can't hear you. Your voice is muted.
Ses yok Ahmet Bey, ses yok.
Biliyor mu?
Evet.
Dear my professor, actually I am already told you before, I am the student of PhD. For the process of the issue the article, how long takes? Then what about the rejection period? How many times rejection will be happen during the period, or more than 3 times it means useful or useless? Can I get some information about that?
If I understand, you're asking about how long it takes to get a decision on a paper?
Yes.
Yes, so we work very hard to provide a decision within 2 months or 60 days. And it depends on the journal, how selective they are. Some of our journals are accepting 30% of the papers that come. Others, the most prestigious, are only accepting around 10% of the articles that come. But most articles must go through a revision if they are ultimately to be accepted in the journal. So the majority of our papers are rejected when they are first submitted, but again, you will receive many pages of feedback on the article. If they think that you can revise the paper so that at the next time they review it, they can say yes, they will give you an opportunity to do that. So it is in your benefit to get the paper as developed as possible, because as editors and reviewers, what we think is, can the paper be close enough to publication the next time we see it? So we try to make a decision after the second review. Sometimes it will go to a third review with only minor changes. Once you have submitted a paper to a journal and it has been rejected, unfortunately, you cannot come back with the same paper. You have to go to another journal. So you do have to be very careful. That's why I encourage you as a member to take advantage of the paper development workshops, of presenting it at a conference, of getting peer feedback on these, because it is a hard thing to learn how to fit a specific journal's audience. And that's exactly what this really is. It's learning what kinds of papers go into which journals and then trying to get them as developed as you can before you submit them.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Emel, would you like to ask a question? Maybe Fuat would like to ask a question. She's our PhD student, but maybe she has.
Yes, thank you, there, Professor. I would like to ask a question about what would be the criteria of publications for this academic of management.
The criteria really depends on the journal. So as I described, some journals look for different topics than others. Some look for empirical studies, some do not. Some look for discussions of public policy or how we can govern organizations better as a result of the research. So the criterion really depends on the journal that you are sending the manuscript to. But in general, I would suggest that you display a good knowledge of the topic that you are trying to speak to. In fact, there is a famous management scholar. His name is David Wetton, and he's very good at describing the way you should try to publish papers. And he says, imagine if you were at a dinner table and you got to pick the 4 scholars in your area to join you for dinner. And you were going to have a topic at that dinner about that subject area. You should already know what they think about these topics by understanding the literature before you sit for dinner, right? Or you waste the opportunity. So you should be able to show in the manuscript that you understand the past and the current state of thinking around this topic, this theory, this phenomenon, this learning subject, whatever it is. And then you join this conversation and add something to the dinner table discussion that makes these very esteemed colleagues say, oh, this new scholar should stay here at our dinner table. They are advancing what we think about the field. So I hope that's useful.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe I have an idea. Is it easier maybe to start with the journal which is focusing on literature review first? Do you think that, can you lead us which one will be much easier to be accepted,
I think you're right, because a literature review is a very known process. You go, you find all of the papers written on a particular topic. And of course, it's more than the Academy of Management journals. There are so many journals. So I think there you have to be very careful that you do a review that represents the most credible journals. We know that today, in particular, there are a number of journals that are not so credible, that want especially younger faculty and PhD students who perhaps do not know which are the best journals. They are very aggressive about publishing in their journals. So you need to rely on each other to understand what a good journal is, or look at the citation indices that we talked about earlier to judge a journal. So the literature review, I think, is the perfect area. And of course, most of us have to do a very significant literature review as a part of our dissertation. Show that you know the literature. Show that you understand how you can group the literature together. Even if you're talking about a particular topic, there will be themes within those topics. So how do you draw connections between the different research articles being produced and organize it in a way that is useful? So Academy of Management Annals is that journal that does literature reviews. And that might be a very good place to start, particularly with your dissertation work, because you have to do a literature review to understand what the state of thinking is in that field.
Thank you. Publishing in Academy of Management journals is I think, dream of every professor. And, we're very happy that, you're just showing us the paths for our dreams come true. We appreciate your efforts because of that. And Famil, would you like to ask a question?
Yes. I would like to ask a question, but a different question. Artificial intelligence has given a new perspective on information. Do you think artificial intelligence will have an impact on scientific publication? What do you think will happen in the future about this? How will ChatGPT have an impact on scientific publication? Thank you very much.
It's such a good question. I would like to know what you all think as well, because we're very nervous about what does this mean for us. You have examinations, you said, in a few minutes' time. We are worried about PhD students who can use the ChatGPT to answer exam questions, or to write part of a dissertation, or to write a paper. The other day, someone wrote me a message and they said that artificial intelligence was doing reviews of papers, that you could put the paper in and then it would write a review of the paper. So I think our entire business model of creating and disseminating knowledge can be influenced by this. It's a very uncertain world, and I would like to know what you think. How are you handling this within your university? Our students are using these things to answer questions. How do we treat them? How will we know if a paper was generated partially by artificial intelligence? It's not as easy. There's no system like a plagiarism check. You can upload your paper and see if they copied it from someone, but you can't see if they used artificial intelligence. So what are you all thinking?
I think it cannot replace a human being.
I hope not. We just have to be clever enough to find out what it is capable of, and try to learn that. So there is a paper development workshop at the conference in Boston this year, all on ChatGPT, and we all used ChatGPT to do a literature review of a particular topic, and you could see how good some of the artificial intelligence actually is. Now, it's not great. It can't replace that person. And what it can't do is tell you what is missing, what is coming next, what is perhaps no longer useful. So I hope that our profession is secure for a while, but we will have to worry about this for both our students' evaluation and for our evaluations of our research.
Yeah, thank you. And Mehmet, he's also our PhD student. Do you want to ask a question?
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for your presentation. It was very useful, especially for us in PhD and thesis process. My question is very, very similar to the earlier question. When we were teenagers, we were going to library for any homework and find the information. Now, all people, teacher and students can access all kind of information from the internet. On the other hand, you are right. It is not easy to adapt with ChatGPT and easy information or collect as a article from the internet. But I wonder which one is permanently in our mind. When you find all information from the books or articles, when you search them from the library on the old method, and you have an effort for them. So from my perspective, it was more useful for us to learn something permanently. What is your opinion about it? Thank you.
Well, I think it is just an opinion, but I agree with you. And there is some evidence to suggest that the way we create memories and things that live permanently is often tied to how new it is. So the discovery of looking through the books in the library, looking through the articles in the journal, and coming across an idea that is new is much more in your mind than reading something that you have read a similar statement on many, many times. For me, because I am old and in the profession a long time, I miss going to the library and finding the stack of journals and sitting and reading quietly and having them all out on the desk in front of me. I know many of our PhD students and many of my colleagues have embraced the digital era, and I understand that it is very easy in ways to categorize and create topics around different things that you learn in different articles. So I think it really is a matter of personal preference. But like you, I think for me, it is a process of discovery that allows me to remember something more and makes it more permanent.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question about your preference. If you are going to write an article, for example, for any of these journals, what might be the topics that you might be interesting? What are the most interesting topics which can attract the attention of the editors?
Well, I think it all starts with what you're interested in, right? Because if you're picking a topic because you think someone else likes it, you won't be as enthusiastic as if you pick a topic that you are interested in. And what is nice about our journals is the journals that have a lot of papers that come in, like the Academy of Management Journal has thousands of papers every year. They have a team of 20 editors and associate editors plus 200 or 300 reviewers who are designated to the journal by topic. So when you submit a paper, you would say, these are the topics that this paper is about, and it will get assigned to people who are also in that area. So it's really lovely because what you're enthusiastic about is what the reader is going to be enthusiastic about. But it goes back to the dinner table conversation. If the reviewer or the editor is also an expert in that area, and you forget or you don't describe the state of knowledge as currently or as correctly as it could be, you have an expert who will tell you that you made a mistake. But I think what's nice is you always get people who are enthusiastic about the topic. So even the paper that I just had a rejection on last week, I know that they saw some excitement, because you usually get some feedback that says, this is what I liked. All of this I didn't like, but this little bit I liked. And that is a nice benefit of the peer review process, because you have some validation about the areas to continue to work in and those that you need more development in.
Thank you very much. So what might be your suggestions to the professors who are conducting research? What should be, especially if they are targeting, to submit their articles in the field of different research to the research-related journals? What kind of thinking they should have, and what kind of processes they should, follow for writing a paper which will be accepted easily?
I think there are a couple of things that would be my advice. One is I try to write every day. Some days it's not so good, but I try to have a discipline where I am writing research every day, or I am reading papers that are related to a paper that I want to write, or I am reviewing other people's research. So that last one is very important. Volunteer, even if you are a PhD student, to review for conferences and then to review for journals. Because like you, it was my dream to publish in the Academy of Management journals. And I did that because I think I learned more from reviewing other people's work and starting to see where they had problems, where they had opportunities to develop. Because when it's your own research, it's very hard to separate what you wrote from the objective state of it. But with it's someone else's work, you learn quite a lot. So I would volunteer to do peer reviews for each other, review for the conferences, review for the journals, and it will help you become a better writer as well.
Very much. And also you are the president of a very prestigious organization. What might be your also suggestions to the professors like us to come to the key positions like this?
So I'm very happy with the Academy of Management because it became my family. When I was a PhD student, I was interested in a topic that didn't really fit within management. And a lot of my professors said, you will have a hard time finding a job, getting papers, because I studied the strategies that firms use to influence government. And 30 years ago, this was not a topic that fit very well. But when I went to the Academy of Management, I found 5, 6 people who were very interested in this same topic. And we became research collaborators. And we, thanks to the internet and everything that we have technology-wise, we have been able to create a community of people studying the topic. And now the topic is very big. Now the topic is something that a lot of people focus on, but I just started volunteering because that made a big difference to me. I volunteered to review for the conference. I volunteered to review for journals. In the Academy of Management journals, the way you become an editorial review board member, an associate editor, or an editor is by how good your reviews are and whether you do them on time. So I always was very diligent. If I got a paper to review, I do a very good job and I'd get it on time. And slowly I worked over years to become an editorial review board, an associate editor, an editor of AMR. And then I missed the Academy and I wanted to give back. And so I said, yes, I will run for election. That was 4 years ago now, to be president.
Thank you very much. Emel, would you like to ask anything before we close the session? Because you just connected and I think you disappeared. Thank you very much, dear Professor Hillman'ı. We appreciate your efforts. This is our exam week. Most of our professors are busy with the exams, but I'm sure they will, watch this webinar after that. And also, I'm spreading it all around to Turkey, basically with different, WhatsApp groups. I'm sure it will be watched a lot. And if you need anything from our university, from us, please let us know. And we would like to see you in our university whenever you want. We are very happy that we met with you. Thank you very much for your efforts. And I hope one day we will also publish an article in one of the Academy of Management journals.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to meet you all and to get to know you. And I hope I will see you at an Academy of Management conference sometime soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.